Chapter 34. A New Dawn. A perplexed expression crossed Tiffany's face. Wait, what? The adventure of a lifetime, Tiffany, Virginia exclaimed as she released her friend's arms. The adventure of a lifetime? Yes, better than the world itself. Good against evil, fighting against unspeakable horrors while daring to adventure into the most dangerous places to save a people who have longed for hope. Virginia, you are not making any sense. Please tell me what you are talking about. Where are we going? I'm talking about going back, Tiff. Back where? Back to your uncle's place? Virginia nodded her head excitedly. Exactly. Vinny, are you crazy? Those people there, those thugs, or whoever they are, they swore to kill you if you returned, didn't they? Virginia ran back to Tiffany's dresser and grabbed a coffee can. You'll be needing this. She returned to Tiffany, setting the coffee can down on the bed. Hey, that's my money, said Tiffany, and you'll be needing every dime of it to get where we're going, said Virginia. And I have some money that my aunt doesn't know about, hidden under my mattress. I'm going to go get my stuff and then be right back. Keep packing while I'm gone. Tiffany grabbed Virginia by the arm. Vinny, I'm so confused with you right now. Please just speak clearly to me for a minute. You're seriously talking about going back to where you just came from? Yes, and I want you to come with me. But Vinny, aren't you scared of going back and dying? Quite the contrary. I'm afraid of staying here and never living. But you're risking everything, Vinny. Your future, your life, everything. I am, indeed, and I have never felt better because I know where I'm called, and I know what the cost is, and I'm daring to take it. Okay, you started making sense until now. Why are you going back, Vinny? Just that simple question. Why? Virginia paused momentarily, trying her hardest to find the right words. Because I know that's where I'm supposed to be. How? How do you know that is where you're supposed to be? Virginia looked around the room. Uncertainty mixed with excitement ran like fire through her veins. Because when I do this, I know it is right. When I do this, I feel every fear within me defied and every worry silenced. I feel like a puzzle piece that has finally found its place. No matter how I thought the picture would look, I know this is where I'm supposed to be. I don't know everything I'm going to do, and I certainly don't know how I will do it either. But this I do know. I have found my place. I have found my calling, and I have found where I am designed to be. This is why I'm returning. Not because I have all the answers, but because I have heard the voice of truth, and I know without a doubt where I'm supposed to be. And I'm not going to miss it for the world. Vinny, do you feel safe about what you're doing? I'm walking into the unknown, Tiffany. I cannot tell you what I expect to happen to me. All I know is that there will be those who will try to kill me, I have no doubt. However, I do feel watched over and protected. So God has sent you an angel or something? Virginia smiled. You could say that. Tiffany raised a brow. Well, he is not an angel, of course, but he's my angel, said Virginia. He fought for me countless times before, repeatedly saved my life, and said he would always fight to protect me. And what about me? Can you promise that I'll be safe? Virginia paused before answering, taking a deep breath to answer her friend and sister. No, I cannot. If you choose to stay here, I can only guess that you might be safe. But if you come with me, you will be risking everything, just as I am. But I can guarantee you this. If you do choose to go with me, what awaits you on the other side will be beyond your wildest imagination, a place that you never thought could have existed, a door that you never knew about or even fathomed could be opened, and an adventure once hidden soon to be made known to you. Now, isn't that worth something risking your life for? Tiffany touched her fingertips to her hiking backpack, looking at it and then at her friend. Is that why you're going? I'm going because I know this is where I'm supposed to be, said Virginia. She smiled and added, and I think I also found my knight. Tiffany smiled and even laughed a little. And what about my knight? Will I find him there too? Virginia placed her hand on top of Tiffany's. Only one way to find out, right? Isn't he worth the risk? Isn't he worth the sacrifice? Tiffany looked back and forth, again between her backpack and Virginia. I don't know. Tiffany, you are my best friend and the only sister in my life, said Virginia. I would love nothing more for you to be with me on this quest, but I will not make this choice for you. You have the freedom to make it all on your own. I've chosen to live with my uncle. I'm choosing to go back. What will your choice be? Tiffany mouthed words, but nothing came out. She just stared at the backpack, fiddling with one of the straps in her fingers. Think it over for a minute, said Virginia. I've got to write a carefully worded text to my aunt explaining what I'm doing and why. A text I'll send later this morning. After my parents died, my uncle and aunt said that the choice to live with either of them was up to me. I've made my choice, and now I have to go get ready. Virginia dashed out the door and ran towards her room, calling out one last word to Tiffany before running down the hall. "Meet me in the hallway if you have chosen to come." Tiffany continued looking at her backpack, the stack of clothes Virginia had prepared, and the coffee can holding her savings. She took a deep breath and let it out slowly. Now wearing her blue jeans and an olive green t-shirt, Virginia folded the pajamas she had been wearing and placed them inside her duffel bag. She put her leather jacket on and fastened the laces of her hiking boots, nice and snug for the road ahead. Standing up, she grabbed her backpack and slung one of its straps over her shoulder and the strap of her duffel bag over the other. She looked around to see if there was anything else she needed. She grabbed the flashlight off her bed, placed it in her coat pocket, and walked outside of the room. The only thing remaining was her purple hoodie, lying on the bed. She closed her bedroom door behind her. Looking down the dark hallway, she did not see Tiffany. She leaned her back against the wall and waited. She closed her eyes and began thinking about all that could lie before her on her trip to come, hoping that Tiffany would come out of that room to join her. The sound of a door closing echoed down the hallway. Virginia pulled out her flashlight and shined it into the dark. Walking towards her was Tiffany, dressed in a pair of blue jeans, a red t-shirt, a light jacket, and a pair of hiking boots of her own. With her backpack slung over her shoulders, she squinted her eyes and held her hand to shield her face from the light. "Hey, enough with that flashlight," she whispered to Virginia. Virginia smiled and killed the light. Tiffany walked up to her and shrugged her shoulders. "You didn't expect to go on this daring adventure of yours without your sister now, did you?" They both smiled and embraced each other. "Come on," said Virginia, "to the garage." Virginia and Tiffany went down the stairs as quickly and quietly as they could. Dodging the paint equipment, they walked through the dining room, into the kitchen, and then to the side door that led into the garage. Quietly opening the door, they entered the garage and turned on the lights. "Are we taking the BMW?" asked Tiffany. "Yes, we are," said Virginia, grabbing the keys off the wall and popping the trunk. "Throw your bag in the back." "But Virginia, it's a manual, stick shift kind, right?" asked Tiffany. "Aren't those harder to drive?" "It's okay," said Virginia, throwing her duffel bag in the trunk. "Dad taught me how before—" She paused. "Before he passed away." Tiffany complied and threw her backpack in the vehicle's trunk, closing its top. "Okay, if you're sure." "I've never been sure in my entire life, girl," she teased. "Now hop in." Both girls got in the car. Virginia pressed the remote attached to the visor above, opening the garage door. The storm outside continued to rage, heavy rain, clashing lightning and rolling thunder. The rain spilled over the front of the garage like the bars in front of her bedroom window. "Here, take this," said Virginia, passing her phone to Tiffany. "What for?" she asked. "At 6:30 a.m., I want you to hit send on that text for me," said Virginia. "It's the one I wrote for my aunt, explaining things." Tiffany placed the phone in her lap. "Okay, then." Placing her foot on the clutch and the brake and shifting the stick into first gear, Virginia cranked up the engine and gave it a few revs. "Are you ready for an adventure, Tiff?" Tiff looked down at her friend's foot, listening to the exciting noise of the engine. Yes. Let's just not get too excited and try to make it there in one piece." Virginia stared at the bars of rain before her, barely even hearing Tiffany. All she heard was the yes that she had wanted to hear. With a quick transition of the clutch and gas pedals, the sporty BMW screeched out of the garage and crashed through the bars of rain. "Virginia!" screamed Tiffany. In an instant, Virginia saw them racing fast towards Jonathan's car, parked on the other side of the driveway. Quickly, she slammed on the brakes and the clutch. The car came to a stop about a foot from hitting the black car in front of them. Tiffany grabbed her heart and began breathing deeply. Virginia fell on her steering wheel, laughing hysterically. What on earth are you laughing at, Virginia?" Tiffany nearly screamed. Virginia continued to laugh, smiling contortedly and pointing at the pedals. "I didn't stall the engine." "You what?" Virginia laughed harder. "I didn't stall the engine. Look, both feet are on the clutch and the brake. I stopped like a boss." Tiffany's eyes widened as she nodded her head. "Well, that's wonderful, Virginia. Now how's about backing up for us? Like a boss." Virginia let out her last bit of giggles, placed the car in reverse, and backed up. Putting it in first gear again, she drove them down the driveway and onto the street. Elizabeth was always a morning person, starting every day at 6:30 a.m. She walked out of her bedroom wearing her silk red pajamas, housecoat, and house shoes. She walked through the dining room and into the kitchen towards the glass circular table where a newspaper and her cell phone awaited her. She sat down, turned on her phone, and picked up the newspaper. She looked down and saw a new text message arriving on her phone. "Virginia?" she said as she opened the text. She read it. "Aunt Elizabeth, thank you for everything you have done for me. When my parents were killed, you said I had the choice to either live with you or Uncle Andrew. 2 doors were placed before me, and after thinking about it long and hard, I have chosen to stay with Uncle Andrew. Since my father and mother left all their possessions to me, I know you will understand why I took my father's car. I love you, and I hope that you will understand." Elizabeth's face grew hot. She threw her phone on the ground, shattering it to pieces. She threw her newspaper at the kitchen window and kicked over one of the table chairs beside her. Calming down just enough, she placed her hands over her face and rested her elbows on the tabletop. Thunder clapped outside. She turned her head and looked through the window and past the bars of water at the garden in the backyard, fixing her attention on a long flower bed holding bushes of red roses. She watched as they were watered by the rain, danced in the storm, and held strong against the wind. "Then go," she said bitterly. Virginia and Tiffany were driving over a long highway bridge that stretched across the ocean from one part of land to another. The storm was now behind them, and the sun was beginning to rise over the waters in the east. They had taken the top down and were riding with the wind blowing across their faces and hair. Tiffany leaned against her headrest, looking into the sunrise. "Look at that," said Tiffany. "What's that?" asked Virginia, taking a quick glance in Tiffany's direction. "The sunrise," said Tiffany. "How beautiful it is. Its light, its reflection on the ocean, its wonderful warmth upon your face." "What about you, Virginia? What do you see in the sunrise?" Virginia glanced at the sun dawning over the waters, smiled, and then looked back at the long road ahead of them. Hope.
This is the end of Chapter 34, and the conclusion of Book 1 of the Odysseys of Aletheia series. To all of you who have been a part of this journey, thank you so much for joining this adventure. Your support means more than you can know. I invite you to join the series on all of its social media platforms to stay updated on the progress of Book Number 2. Click the links in the show notes below to continue the journey and stay updated for all future releases. Thank you all so much again for your continued support. If you've enjoyed this series, please consider giving it a 5-star rating and also share with your friends and family. It really helps the show. We are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all major podcasting platforms. What Shines with the Dawn is a C. Taylor Eason production. Copyright Christian Taylor Eason, 2024.